some of the most joyful minutes of my day. Welcome back, Mere Mortalites, to another edition of the Mere Mortals book reviews. And I've got for you a wonderful book, very strange one at that. It's A Daily Dad, 366 Meditations on Fatherhood, Love and Raising Great Kids by Ryan Holiday. Now, I went seeking how I might describe this book and give you a bit of information, but I found Ryan himself talking a little bit about his book, and so I'm going to let him have a little bit of a spiel first.
I think the fundamental problem with all parenting books, what I really struggled with when we had kids, is that parenting isn't a thing you do one time. It's not something you ever get. So the idea that it could be solved with a book that you read one time is crazy. It's a thing you are learning, not a thing we have mastered, but a thing we are in the process of beginning to understand. And that's actually the idea in the new book, The Daily Dad, 366 Meditations on Parenting, Love, and Raising Great Kids. Whether your kids are old or not yet born, whether you have one or almost a dozen, this book is about the journey that you're going on, a timeless journey that generations, millions, billions of people have been on before you. They've done things right, they've made mistakes, they've learned things. You're on the journey to be the best parent that you can be. You're on the journey to be the parent that your kids need you to be. And if you want some help on that journey, you can borrow from the sources that I continue to lean on to this day in a one-page-a-day format.
Now, in my own words, what is this book? What does it actually look like? Why did I even pick it up? But look, let me start at the beginning. Ryan Holiday himself, I've talked about quite a few of his books in the past here on the Mere Mortals. I've gone through a big streak of reading basically every one of his books, apart from the marketing ones. And this book is very similar to the Ryan Holiday-esque books. And if you aren't aware of Ryan Holiday himself or some of those books in general, let me give you a little spiel first of what I've kind of defined of his previous books, because they all get slightly shorter over time, and this one's no different. So, Ryan writes a lot about stoicism, does a lot of comparisons. And I basically got down this formula, which I've got written down here, which is generally the way that he writes chapters or information. It's a thought of an event. It's using historical context or quotes. There's always an opportunity for improvement. There's defined improvement opportunities based on all of this, giving through with the examples, and then usually ends it with a small motivational ending to the particular piece. In the previous books of Ryan Holiday, Obstacles Away is a very famous one. Some of the new Virtue series, perhaps you've seen or read about those. This one goes even tighter, and I can just see myself remembering. I can remember the previous books where they kind of go from 15 pages a chapter to 10 pages to 6 pages sometimes. Well, this one outdoes it and goes one chapter is 1 page, and that's because The Daily Dad is very much true to its word. 366 Meditations, it's meant to be read 1-page book, basically. And if you had any doubt, when you actually go into it, it is into the days of the calendar. So July 9th, October the 10th, split across the different months, and each month's got a particular topic, and then each topic then gets discussed again across 28, 29, 30 days, whatever it may be, 31 days. Now, an interesting piece, actually, Daily Dad. So Ryan Holiday has a podcast called The Daily Dad, a YouTube channel called Daily Dad, and I've called it out separately because the podcast itself is slightly different to the YouTube. The YouTube tends to be Ryan himself talking with his wife and more long-form conversations, where the Daily Dad podcast is more him basically just reading out this particular chapter and then extrapolating slightly, a couple more minutes into it, because this will take a minute to read per chapter, per page. And honestly, I don't enjoy the podcast. Not as fun. The YouTube, maybe a little bit better, but honestly, I feel like this sort of information, best captured in books, best read out, and played through. And so that brings me kind of to reading this book, because I haven't actually finished it, right? I picked it up a month and a bit ago. I've read, obviously, 40-odd pages plus the introduction. But I'm going to tell you why it's become one of the most joyful parts of my day. And that's because I very first began reading this in the mornings. I would go about making myself a coffee, have a read, 2 minutes in the morning before I'd go on my merry way. But I was finding I was just forgetting. Now, at the very top, Matthew McConaughey says, make this book a morning ritual. So I tried to do that. Didn't particularly work, or at least not in that way. What I ended up pivoting to, Daily Dad, was reading it out loud to my little baby girl. So I've got a 5-month-old, and I found myself making it not a morning ritual, just a daily ritual to read the particular chapter, the particular day out to her. And that in itself has brought, one, a lot of joy, to just speaking it out loud, especially allows for my partner to sometimes hear that as well. You can see my little baby girl just watching dad's lips wobble around with some noises. And obviously, right now, I can understand she's not responding back to me, but it encourages conversations about topics or ideas with my partner. And I started to see myself going, wow, this is an awesome thing to read through for the whole year. But perhaps I could see it also being a future thing. This is going to be a multi. I'm going to go through basically the whole book again and again and again, because Ryan actually correctly points out as you read through a particular page, you're a position in time where you're reading that, you absorb it, you take it in a particular way. In another 365, 366 days, you're going to be in a completely different position. You might read the same thing again with different people around you in a different environment, different context, and it hits you in a particular different way. I've experienced this with other books that I've read multiple times. Man's Search for Meaning. The more times I read that, the more I find different things, new things that I pick up, or deeper meanings, or perhaps things I just didn't find the first, second, third time that I read it out. And so for that, I went, wow, this is a book which, well, one, it's meant to be picked up kind of whenever on the go, but two, it's one of probably the few books that I have, again, a handful really, where I go, wow, I could see myself reading this literally for many, many years to come. And so that in itself made me rank the book quite highly. I'm going to give you an example before I leave you with what I thought overall the book would be. I'm going to pick up a random one that I probably haven't read at all, and I'll give you a bit of an example of the month. So July, help them become who they are, lessons in nurturing and discovery. So again, it just gives you a little bit of a highlight of, what's that particular topic of the month. And I'll pick a shorter one. So July 6th. So at the top, month, date, little title, you have to do this. Quote, I think that the major obligation of parents and educators is to give children an understanding of the divine beginning that exists within them. William Ellery Channing. And then it goes into the actual chapter, which I'll read out for you folks. Cormac McCarthy talks about carrying the fire in his haunting novel, The Road, which he wrote for his son. Alanis Morissette put her own spin on it in her beautiful song, Ablaze, which she wrote for her 2 children. To my girl, all your innocence and fire, she sings. My mission is to keep the light in your eyes ablaze. And to a son, whom she calls a precious, gentle warrior, with all his wild energy, she sings the same thing. Our job is to keep our kids the way they were born, which, as The Road was written to show us, means fundamentally good, innocent, pure. We have to help them carry the fire. We have to keep that light in the eyes ablaze, no matter how dark the world gets. In fact, we have to do it now more than ever because the world is dark. That's our job. That's our warrant. If we fail, God help us. And so again, one, it stands the test of time. There's currently something happening right now in the world where that goes, wow, that's impactful. That's a big thing. I kind of relate it to horoscopes in a sense. Where you'll read something and it'll just impact you in different ways depending on the concept, the idea, what's happening in the world. And, I find real joy in reading that. I find joy in having the conversations and the ideas play out with other people around me who I'm sort of sharing that and then having those conversations. And ultimately, it's what gave me, I gave the rating for the book a 7 out of 10. Really highly recommended. It's something that I would give to others, although this particular copy I'd keep to myself. Why? Because I'm going to probably read it for many, many years to come. So Ryan Holiday, once again, thank you very much for a well thought out and well structured book. I'll keep reading the book, not the podcast. For now, me and Mortal Lights, I'm going to leave it there. If you want to support the podcast, leave a message, comment wherever you are listening to this. However, we do ask if you're going to send through something of value, send it through as a boostergram. It's a comment with Satoshi's attached. New podcasting apps out there allow you to do that. Things like Fountain. Karen's doing live book reviews, which is going to give a little bit more real time into the support that we're getting through that format. So if you want to get your name read out in your comment as well, please, that's the best way. Otherwise, reach out on all the different platforms that you want to send us through. But for now, I'm going to leave it there. Me and Mortal Lights, I hope you have enjoyed. This is The Daily Dad by Ryan Holiday. One out.